what we're doing here is wax and grease removing all of our parts. So they're all washed down, they're all sanded, 400 grit, ready to prime. Now we're going to be wax and grease cleaning everything down with the shop towels here that we have. And then after that, we're going to go over everything with a tack rag, and then we'll be ready to do our white base coat. Now remember, this is going to be a 3-tone paint job with a mid-coat pearl. Now, I'm using a rustoleum 1K primer. The only problem with a 1K primer is you can't wax and grease it once it dries, because the wax and grease will literally melt it. All right. So if you're using a 2K aerosol primer, which I didn't have on me, use a 1K. You could sand it after it dries. You can sand it with 400 grit and tack it down. Don't use a wax and grease remover on top of it. So all we're doing here is using a 1K primer filler by Rustoleum, and we're just covering the bare plastic areas and the bare metal areas, because you don't want to paint over metal directly or plastic parts, because it's possible that it bleeds through or gives you some sort of imperfection. So now all we're doing here is sanding our Rustoleum 1K primer with 400 grit, just getting it ready for paint. And you're gonna have to use maybe 1 or 2 sheets of paper depending on how much you did, because it literally cakes up the paper pretty quickly. All right, and a reason why is because you're not wet sanding, but you don't want to wet sand now, because you're just gonna get things wet, and you don't want to have any wet panels on this at this stage, because the water is going to go between the cracks, and the last thing you want is water seeping out of a seam when you're spraying base coat and clear coat. Not too bad when you're doing base coat, because you could just dry it and fix it, but clear coat, it's going to be an issue. So here I'm using the Bulldog adhesion promoter on top of my raw plastic parts here. All right. And that kind of gives me a coat to spray base coat right over. All right. So the adhesion promoter also helps with that. Ideally, you could have actually painted those plastic parts with a 2K primer, but I just scuffed them down quick, laid some adhesion promoter, and then I did my base coat, clear coat on top of it. So here we're using the Daihatsu Mini X16. The new versions now are a flat dark gray powder coat with, what color are the knobs now? The knobs are black and gold, and they are really nice looking and great spraying spray guns. If you don't have an Daihatsu Mini, I urge you to check them out at Zula.com and pick yourself up one. It's a really nice spraying spray gun and a great value. So I pretty much go around the truck 2 times with our white base coat and the door jambs, and I'm spraying pretty heavy because I just want to cover it really well and move on. So you can see this process, and it's a good time to learn how to spray with your left hand, because sometimes you got to get in there with your left hand like I'm doing right now to get into the tight spot. So it's, as you practice, it's always nice to be able to spray with 2 hands. Sometimes if you just keep using your right hand doing clear coat, doing a complete paint job, your arm will get tired. And if you could switch to left hand, that's great. So you could give your other side a break here. So I'm not sure what happened there, if it was a little run or a piece of dust went on it. The thing is, if base coat is wet like this and you have to wipe off a quick run, you can do it, especially on a little edge like that. So I just wiped it off, I think, and I'm just dusting it. So be sure to put a lot of air. That's the thing. You want to let it dry, dust it, dry dust it, and you can easily fix something like that, especially on the corner. If it's dead center in the middle of the panel, you got a big run, it's going to be harder to do. You probably have to let it dry and then water sand it out, then recoat it. The cool thing about base coat is if you do screw up during the base coat painting stage, you have room to play with. Clear coat, unfortunately, if you're banging your clear coat, you really can't go back, right? And I would rather have a run than a dry spot, because if you're clearing and then you got dry spots, buffing them out sometimes are going to be impossible depending on how dry they are, because you just can't get it. You can't cut down below the dryness. You know what I mean? So it's always better to have a run than being dry. But the problem is, if you have any pearls or flakes in your run, then that's another issue to deal with. Right, you're gonna have to probably most likely sand out and do that panel again, especially if it's a custom paint job, custom color. It makes it even harder. So just be careful. If you're brand new, I recommend not really playing with too many different kinds of candies and pearls. But if you get the spraying process down and you don't run, then go for it. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the video. We're just wrapping up the white base coat here. We're going to let that dry. We're going to mix up some DBC 500 with some X Finishes Moondust Pearl. Put 2 coats of pearl here as a mid coat. And we're going to spray the silver bottom. Then we're going to do the middle teal. And we're going to have our cool paint job almost done. So I hope you liked the video. Like it, comment below, subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to check out Learn Auto Body and Paint VIP, where you get access to over 100 hours of step-by-step videos like this, and even more detail. All right, we get even more detailed than this, and you get step-by-step guides, booklets, and a VIP community to interact with, to share your story, and also to get your questions answered in top priority. All right, so it's Tony. Don't forget to check it out, LearnAutoBodyAndPaint.com. Also, get your free 85-page auto body booklet and 7-day training. Thanks. Bye.